knew you could have it. All right. What's your name? Emma. Let's see. Do you have an Emma recipe in here? Yes. We do. Taylor recipe in here. What do you think? I bet we do.
Okay.
Yeah, Jamin. Do we have one here for you? And Brayden.
With your purple crayon. Everyone do that?
Well, I can do that. I think so. I don't know. I would never do that. That's silly. No, they say Taylor's cupcake recipe, Emma's cupcake recipe, James' cupcake recipe. So what does yours probably say? Yeah.
So that was a really active lesson. You had the students doing a lot of stuff. How did you feel about the lesson? How did you feel it went?
I feel like it went pretty good. We generally do a lot of center time, so I usually plan my centers or my math lessons around centers. Try to make each one different, and then one center is usually a review, like the center we had with the shapes and either the worksheet. That's kind of a review. A center where they can be independent and don't need a worker, and then I usually try to do the one where we have kind of a newer concept. So I feel like they went okay. Usually I'll go back through and look at the worksheets and things that I can grade like that and record those, and then I also think about the students I had and make notes of who I think might need some additional one-on-one help. So I feel like it went good.
So you're working on the abstract concept of subtraction, which isn't terribly abstract, but it is for some of the kids. How are they progressing through, particularly with the more difficult addition, subtraction, figuring out which is which?
I think that's helped when we go through and we circle, like first we go through and find all the ones that are addition, we circle those in purple or a different color. Then we go through and find all the ones that are subtraction and circle those in green. I think that just helps them really keep track and realize that it's important that you look at those symbols first before we just speed through. Because we've talked about, the other day we all talked about as a group how we've just been doing addition, but now that we're getting older, we talked to them about that. Now they'll have to start looking, is it addition or is it subtraction, and what that means. So I think they've been doing a nice job. I thought manipulatives would be easier for almost all students, but I've had some students who say they like to do the worksheet or the paper better, and they do somehow do better with that. I don't know if it's the touch points or for what, so I think it's been good to do a mix of activities.
So in one of the centers you were using a touch point math that you were using on the board then earlier?
The center with the worksheets had touch point math on it.
And that makes it easier?
Yes, they do seem to like that. That's what my mentor teacher used. And actually last semester I was in a third grade classroom, and that teacher felt differently about touch points. So it's been fun to see a different classroom, one where we didn't use that, one where we do. And then growing up, I did touch point math, so I already had those memorized. So it was kind of fun to bring that back in. So yeah.
How did you feel about the engagement, attention of the students while you were teaching?
For the most part, I think we did pretty well. I've got a few students who it's harder for them to stay on task, and they do their best, and I do my best to help them stay on task. But I think transitioning to the story for a minute, because we were looking at the whiteboard, then we had to look over here and do the story. I think that was a little bit tough for them to get back on task. I had a few talkers. It took me a little bit longer than I would have liked, and then we switched back to talk about what we were doing at center time. I don't know if maybe I should have just read from there, since everyone was facing that way, and that wouldn't have caused us to move. But other than that.
But they, typically when you read a story, don't they go to the rug?
They always sit there for most of a lot of our direct instruction, a lot of our reading, everything starts there.
So if you had done it that way, that might have caused them, that is not how we do the story.
That could be true too, yeah. So
because there's a little bit of change anyway today with the substitute.
Yes, and we also normally do reading and math in the afternoon. So they've had a couple changes today, but they're all right. So I talked to them this morning until we're going to do math. I think it was fun to do something different too.
And when they come back from PE, what's the next step?
We sometimes, if we're not quite done with math, we come back and we finish up. So everyone will have one more center today. They'll finish that up, and then they'll work. They have a portfolio that they work in today, and it's got worksheets and different things that they're working on at their level. So things that some kids have, maybe 10 worksheets ahead of another, but that's fine. It's their personal time to work. So they really, really like those, and they work quietly. And my mentor teacher's done a nice job of. She takes various photos of them throughout the year and puts it in, so they like to open it and look at their pictures and kind of piddle for a minute, which that's fine, and then they kind of get busy. So that's what we'll do, and then after that they have free centers. So that's generally what we do after PE, is either finish math, work in portfolio, or they get a free center until lunch.
So you're finishing up your teacher work sample and subtraction. How much more do you have to do before you take the post-test?
I have tomorrow is going to be a technology day where we're going to watch a projector or the LCD one from the ceiling. We're going to watch some videos from Sesame Street on subtraction as a group, and then we're going to work. They're all going to work on their computer and do subtraction math on a math program, computer program, and then we'll kind of probably just do some more review centers. Not a lot of writing tomorrow, just some kind of more fun with like the number sponges, like some kind of fun stuff. And then we're having Valentine's Day party tomorrow, so it's going to be kind of a more fun day. And then Monday we'll do one more review, finish up, and then we have in-service Monday. That was my plan. Tuesday we'll end up doing that, and Wednesday we're going to review, or Wednesday we'll have post-test. I did want to do the post-test on the day we came back, but after a 3-day weekend I thought we better do another review day before we post-test. So.
Sounds good. So we've had a camera in the classroom today.
Yes.
We've had and you noticed a couple of para type people coming in and out. So lots to manage in the classroom. I was really excited to watch all the positive things you did to keep the kids on task. Wonderful, wonderful redirection. The little girl wanted to tell you about her dog, or I don't know what it was she wanted to tell you, but we'll talk about that later. Can we talk about that later? And redirecting them to that. I also noticed with these little guys, it's so important to use positive reinforcement. You said, good job, that's so much better, thank you for raising your hand, thank you for waiting nicely. And the positive reinforcement is really strong.
Okay.
But what's even better is the positive feedback, which tells them, I like what you're doing, but you're waiting nicely, you're raising your hand. That reinforces the behavior that you want them to do, which is really important for these little guys. You also, a couple of times when there were students who were getting a little bit off task, you used a touch, appropriate touch to kind of guide them back and get them where they were going. Little guy who got the answer right while you were at the circle, you high-fived him. And I think one of the things I liked the best about the lesson was when you were doing the center with the kids. You had lots of opportunities in between teaching the math to have conversation with them about things like, Emma always asks for pink, and you like blue, and that's the time to really make the connections with the kids, and that's the value of having all the centers with different people in them. They get to be listened to for a second, and it was obvious they had something a little special to say for everybody. They had their own recipe card with their own name on it to find and detect, and you let them make some choices. How many would you like to have? What would your problem be? And then at the other center, I guess what you call the free center, they got to make a choice of which activity they wanted to do. And that's how we developed the independent learners. So again, I detected a really, really strong lesson. You used signaling, you had them clap if you thought he was right. When you were doing the choral stuff, you said, I don't know if I hear anybody. And I thought that was an open invitation to them to begin shouting.
Yes.
But they didn't. They were actually, their voices were really well modulated. They were loud, but appropriately loud. I thought that was really cool.
I was proud of them.
And real world, you asked them, when you were reading the story about the warthog, have you ever helped anybody cook? Which allows them to make the connections again to what they're doing. You had a great book. You had hands-on stuff at each of the centers for them to do, including some little modified art activity to get that going. So if I was looking for a really good example of a lesson that met the children's developmental needs, kept them actively involved, and gave them lots of positive feedback, made them feel good about math, this would be the lesson that I'd want to look at.
Well, thank you very much.